My name is Maria Rybko. I'm the Deputy Director of the Center for Economic Strategy, and today we have the fourth edition devoted to recovery and rebuilding, reconstruction, and today we have the presentation from our colleagues that we have done together with the European Union, and many thanks for supporting us financially. To turn on the English translation, you can do via clicking on the button of a globe.
Listening to us in English, you can switch on the translation to English in the lower panel in Zoom, and you can leave your questions in the Q&A.
Our project is called the Control of Costs for Recovery. We are preparing our monthly monitoring, and we have prepared the online platform, which will be presented to us by Max. This is our joint work of the Center of Economic Strategy, civil organization, of the technologies of progress. All the members are of Coalition Rise. So I'm finished with the technical part. Let me come to the agenda. Today we have some beautiful panelists. Victor Nastulia about the digital platform of digital recovery. Alexander Nakhod, the Deputy Chief of the agency, and Ivan Laktionov from Transparency International. But before we move to the discussion, I want to ask my colleague Alexandra Betli and Max to present the portal. Before that, I would like to ask Mr. Asier Santilian to say a few words. Hope we got your name right. He is heading the organization of the good governance in the European delegation in Ukraine. Mr. Asier, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I will try to speak slowly for facilitating the translation. First of all, warm welcome to all. I am grateful to share the floor today with our distinguished partners to talk about the big recovery portal, a key deliverable under the project, the Recovery Spending Watchdog, an EU-funded project that has been running since June. We are proud to be your partner in this project and look forward to following to following it and start working with you and including this one on the recovery portal. I would like to thank the Center for Economic Strategy, the Institute for Economic Research and Policy Consulting, and Technologies of Progress for their engagement and commitment, not only for the deliverables under this project, but for the development of Ukraine as a whole. The European Union is a strong supporter of civil society. Civil society, you, are the fourth pillar of any democracy, and you serve numerous roles. First and foremost, civil society monitors the government policies and monitors also actions and hold the government accountable. You are a watchdog. And as the title of this project implies, this is clearly already well understood among the three implementing partners of this activity. But civil society is also playing a role in advocacy and offers alternative policies for governments. This is also a large part of this project, which will deliver analysis and reports on implementation of reconstruction spending. I trust that the foundation for this report will be the need to continuously strengthen some transparency, and secondly, a voice for those who are on the receiving end of the reconstruction effort. The people without houses, electricity, or water need to be considered, and they need to be the beneficiaries, the end beneficiaries of your actions. Funds for reconstruction are limited. It is important that we ensure that they are available and that they are spent in the best way possible, benefiting as many as possible and delivering measurable impact on people's lives. Measuring the impact of reconstruction spending is not an easy task, but this is nevertheless what we expect this project will contribute to. This is an ambitious project. Today we are here to launch a kind of a Dosoro for Dream, a civil society platform for monitoring reconstruction spending. And I am very excited to follow this and see how it will be taken on board across Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this introduction. Я дуже дякую за таке представлення, за добрі слова. Я сподіваюся, сьогодні ми
I hope we will see today about the portal. We will hear more about it from Max Nefedov, but before that, I would like to pass the floor to Alexandra Betli. That's a good view from the top on all of the processes connected with the reconstruction in Ukraine. Alexandra, please, what has happened interesting in December? Let's speak quite shortly today because the main part should be the portal. Therefore, I will not show you all the slides. Our presentation will be available on the website and on the website and on the portal, and then where you will be able to see it. So, what concerns our presentation, actually quite a lot is done in the legislation, but we have, for this monitoring, we have outlisted the various issues. That's the accounting chamber draft law, and a lot of discussion is already underway. We are very much grateful to Ms. Roxalana, the chief of the budget committee of the Verkhovna Rada, so that last week we could see airing of the potential members of the accounting chamber. We have seen it very openly that people who often apply to such positions, they are not always in the picture of what accounting chamber is, and they don't have enough skills to take care of billions of hryvnia that will come to Ukraine for the recovery. That's why we believe that this particular law, it is exactly the attention to accounting chamber is of utmost importance to Ukraine because it's about trust from our international partners. And we have seen that the accounting chamber is in the list of the strategies, and the European Union has repeatedly mentioned that we need to improve the effective work of the accounting chamber. So the current edition does require further improvement, but it's also a good basis for the discussion. And for us, it's very important that this draft law would foresee the competition commission for the selection of these members, that it should be not only be aired, there should be a commission with the participation of international experts who would be doing this competition, the transparent procedures for running this audit, also very important to have the independence of the body and to make sure that we really have a capable audit team, the people who can really make audits. When we say about the recovery, last week there was a very good report about recovery, about the deliverables and recovery, and we can see that the regional and local recovery, we have already spent 21.6 billion. Also, the liquidation fund was partially used. Part of the money comes as subvention to Hromadas. We also said that during our last monitoring missions, part of the money, this is the programs coming from the European Investment Bank, and the largest funding goes to projects in Kyiv, Kharkiv, and Zaporizhia regions. Very important is what we call the comprehensive reconstruction. The reconstruction agency is using the liquidation fund to rebuild 46 sites, including 5 pilot villages, and the agency is quite regularly reporting what is happening in terms of reconstruction, what is already reconstructed, And it's important that financial monitoring doesn't have enough information which particular objects have been recovered, and this we can't look at. If we are talking about the healthcare, as at the early December, 1,474 objects of medical facilities and 195 facilities were completely destroyed. 441 facilities in the medical sphere have been already fully restored. And we have to understand that we are in the war and we have to renew all the time. That differs Ukraine from any other countries when recovery and rebuilding started already in the post-war period. Regarding the educational institutions, 3,500 educational institutions are damaged or completely destroyed, 500 institutions already restored. Recovery Agency continues active, transparent procurement. In the next monitoring, we will analyze in more detail the procurement meant for the reconstruction, so this will be for the future. And in November, we had 50 contracts for the reconstruction of civilian facilities were completed. This was more for the residential buildings. The agency works almost with 400 objects, housing and social infrastructure. Yes, a lot of objects need this financing. And what's important, we lack staff, and that's why the Ministry of Renovation have launched this portal to work for the recovery, work and recovery. And in this portal, we can see which positions are available, although to me, it's a little bit the partial duplication of the state personnel service, so we can also talk about whether the money of the donors is spent effectively. Very important what is happening now and what will be helping us. Max will talk more about it, is that what we have already Dream. Dream is being filled, that's the state portal, and because it's not yet in the law, it has just some projects, draft projects. We made last week the presentation. So this is the statistics as at last week. We had 1,466 projects. Almost half of the projects are in progress, and we need the financing of 71.3 billion. Confirmed financing has already come for 46.3 billion. It's also important to mention that the need is bigger than what we can finance on this portal. From what we have on the portal and what we have on the Dream, the biggest based on the confirmed financing we have in the Kiev Oblast, also then Chernihiv Oblast, Kharkivska and Dnipropetrovska Oblast. That is somewhat different from the statistics that was given by the Ministry of Recovery regarding all the projects. This can confirm that not all oblasts, not all territorial communities take good caution to bring these projects to Dream, because that adds up transparency, adds up effectiveness, and you can see where the gaps exist. The biggest number of projects that are financed, that's in the sphere of road infrastructure and housing, that's bridges, it's roads, it's housing, and please don't be surprised that housing, it's within industry, trade, and services. It's exactly the housing projects are there. I think we should have tried to really bring out housing as a separate category. I mean, these are very general categories. I think it will be simply more understood. When we talk about the financing, the fund of liquidation, liquidation fund is the main source of funding for DREAM Act facilities, but we do have other sources. We have EIB, we have national program, we have the recovery program, but again, we are saying that the liquidation fund, it's the main priority, but we have to increase the sample for the EIB. What we have on DREAM and what we have decided to analyze, these are the projects which are just initiated because we have not had yet the forced competition. of this interagency working group for the distribution of funds, but these projects are being supplied on the portal, and we can look that the majority of the projects, they are really coming in industry, trade and services and housing, but still some other aspects are there. What we have, what we call the slow sampling by the MFI lending programs. First of all, we are talking about those Recovery 1 to 3 that are coming from the European Investment Bank. That is explained partially that procedures are quite complicated, so we have negotiations with these about the simplification of the procedures. But also they say that actually good quality projects are lacking. So we have to really increase this capacity to come up with good projects, and the territorial communities could really improve their capacity and really could apply as experts. That's why the Prime Minister of Ukraine emphasized the importance of creating project teams at local self-governance bodies. Also, the regional offices of support are opened, and as far as I know, of course, the level of support is quite different because the initiative was coming from the top. So the local self-governance bodies are being very careful about this to these regional offices. But again, at the background that we need to really quickly supply these projects and to take out the money as quick and as high quality as possible. Unfortunately, it's quite difficult to quickly provide for the perfect capacity of all bodies. Working with data is a quest today. That's why we are very much thankful to Dream for supplying us with this information in a very high quality manner. We understand that the problems are there as well, and Max will talk about it. But again, for instance, we looked at the various transactions which are on Spending UA, the website that says about all the transactions. So you can see how they are described with copy-paste just to explain what these transactions are. So it's very difficult to understand what exactly these transactions are. Of course, very likely that this is the money meant for recovery and reconstruction, but we really want to improve the code of recovery and reconstruction. Of course, we're talking about subvention is clear, but if we're talking about other taxes, when the recovery is coming from the local authorities, it's even more difficult to single out this financing. And once again, on this graph, we have shown you how the funds are taken out and how the costs are financed. They're not financed equally. And what's important, we understand what we have this. We have used up. We have had some subventions aimed at recovery, and 46% of the annual planned subventions are used for the restoration of critical infrastructure under IBRD projects. Of course, there are certain questions, but this is something that we have said before. If we talk about the funds from MVO, we have 12.5 billion hryvnia. That could be significantly more, but we just need to very high quality and effectively spend this, take this money out. But for this, we need to supply with good quality projects. At this, I would finish. The rest of the slides we could look up at the portal, and then Max will continue to will pick up many things, Alexandra. Once again, I would want to once again mention to everybody that this presentation will be available on our websites. Those who have registered for our event will get the expanded version, what Alexander has shown as PDF. So we are doing every month the monitoring, and every month we will be monitoring main hallmarks in this sphere of this and the figures. So I can see already that in the chat we have some more discussion going on, and we have some great news. Victor, you can do this after Max has presented his. So we are very much happy that we will be able to hear from you. So that's why I'm asking Max to present the portal, and together with the team, and we hope that it will become the portal that will help the civil society to monitor the recovery and reconstruction objects. Please go ahead. Colleagues, good afternoon. I hope you can see something.
Отже, дякую вам. Ще раз нагадаю про те, що наша команда вже багато обіцяла і навіть періодично
Our team has already said a lot and has already promised a lot. And finally, we can show you something that is already working. You can immediately go up brp.org.ua, and everything that I'm showing this as screenshots, everything should be working there. So please, you can check this. And you can point out in chat that in any browser or telephone or tablet would have any problems. But we're showing you this as presentation for two reasons. First of all, we would like to thank donors and to put correctly all logos so you would see who is financing this project. That's on the one hand, and already being an experienced veteran of presentation, that something is falling off even from Microsoft and Apple. Definitely, I wanted to show you it's in a more beautiful manner. So the last thing, but still quite important, I am just want to boast with the picture that the AI has generated for our monitoring project. So we are trying to take into account all modern technologies. Okay, if we forget about smiles, I would like to thank separately to our main contractor, Nix Delivery. Finally, we have developed the main core of the project, which we promised to launch in December, and we are living up to this promise. That means that we have built the most of the functionality of the portal. We have successfully integrated with the Dream team, and that means that every 2 weeks we are starting during our sprints for development, we will roll out new functionality. So please jump in, and you can see all the data on the project already alive. They are updated in an online mode. And what Victor is telling in the chat, you can see that in reality. Also, you can see the problems in the quality of data that Alexandra just mentioned. Of course, this is not critique. This is the reality of working with the commercial projects. So, I mean, that's a voluntary state project with all our real problems. At the moment, we see more than 1,200 projects which are in Dream, 628 are in the process of recovery. Of course, we have already tested projects, fixed projects. Maybe somebody duplicated this and then took out 3 or 4 copies. I mean, that's very standard. You know, this legend that in Prozoro, in their database, they still have some tenders for billions of grivna. They're still there because they were manually put inside. So within the process of the recovery, we have 628 objects. Naturally, the number of objects are many more in the country being recovered, and we're talking about those projects which have already been supplied to Dream. I like to remind you that Dream is working in this voluntary mode. Of course, the recovery is coming on a much more large scale, so the instruments which we are counting on and the ones that we are working, their aim is to give the possibility to work with these thousands and hopefully in the near future, tens of thousands of objects. We really want to get the final objective, what we call the first stage of the project, because this will be a continuation. We will continue to work on the possibilities for business to be more active in the recovery. But the first part of the project, the one that is contracted and being developed, in May, that functionality should be launched that will allow to the portal of Big Recovery to become the main resource for citizens, for average citizens who are interested what is being recovered in their city, to gather important news and analytics and to provide various instruments of civil participation. And you can spend 30 seconds how bad it is or how it is perfect. And it's a rare case when things have worked out, as well as for those who are ready to spend much more time and work on along the checklists, monitor with some periodicity how these objects look like, how they are looking like on these real photos. And at some point in time, of course, they should look like already rebuilt, inclusive, modern, energy efficient projects. In a certain perspective, we will have the English level version. Of course, we will give some instruments to some taxpayers who are financing our Ukrainian budget. That's a very important story because we want to play our important role for this bigger trust for the state data. We are not criticizing the data for DREAMS. We are not creating any parallel database or the system, but we are really providing for its independent verification, and we will once again remind the words of Alexandra about the accounting chamber and about our not always successful cases with the state auditor service, the one that you can read in Facebook. So this independent monitoring, in any case, very important, especially for Ukrainian citizens who we know don't trust the state so much, and for the also taxpayers and the civil society in the other countries who also don't trust the state so much. I will not describe the functional completely. I mean, you can search for objects, you can also search them on the map. Of course, I can tell you that on the map, they are not shown to some super local level of security. Of course, there are certain complexities in mapping. This was the case, but within the framework of the settlement, you can still quite easily track it. If you click on the object, of course, you will open up the object card with all the basic information, the one that is we are now bringing to DREAM. And I have selected also the objects which is quite in a good quality. It's done because it's not well selected. It could be in the name, but maybe it's not in the proper part, in the proper field. Sometimes there are some mistakes. Of course, this is normal in this testing period, and this is connected to the fact that the statistics can be somehow not so ideal, not so perfect. You could see some negative terms for the reconstruction of the object. Yeah, that's an expected story. You have to understand that this is not like it's not like just a small box related to manually filling this by users who have different qualifications. Once again, every 2 weeks we will be adding some additional data sets, including the photographs, not only official, but the ones that the users can upload, and the possibility to leave comments, including the possibility to leave some complaints, to upload some monitoring for civil organizations. So this will be slightly later. And a separate module, because even now you can see that there are quite a lot of objects, and unlikely that somebody who is very much motivated manually will be very difficult to go over all of them. So the possibilities of monitoring and the risk of analytics that is done automatically, and its objective is to shed light based on the methodology that we are developing. And many thanks to other colleagues who have joined and who have given very useful comments and remarks. So to shed light on those objects, the monitoring of which is especially important. Naturally, that doesn't mean that we would always be able to successfully virtually get somewhere, but this is something that we should start with. Once again, in the beginning, I want to say that we want to concentrate in these projects on the risks of implementation. So we're talking not about the corruption risks in its pure sense, not about some stories that like, for instance, the price for concrete. At this moment, we want to show that this object is being built, that it really satisfies common sense approaches, its type, its scale, its financing, the complexity of recovery based on the official data, its location, and connected security risks that really meet common sense. Because when we talk about the construction in the existing school, some shelter, or a construction of the shelter for the amount of 10 million hryvnia, then the risks, of course, also exist. And sometimes some implementing partners can steal even on that, but they are much less when in a very specific village there is a project for 200 million hryvnia using the combination of financing from various types that should come synchronously when it's a high complexity object and it is, like, for instance, close to something that is having inherent high risks like bridges or energy infrastructure. News. Please look up the first news, the results of the monitoring, the advice and recommendations, and we also wanted to integrate as much as possible into our colleagues who generate a lot of cool information to make sure we could give some links to that. We are not a commercial story. We don't want to earn or exploit other data, but I think it would be very useful that the links and possibility to shed light on the work of the regional non-government organizations who really can do good investigations and that can sink in the overall huge set of information. That would be really cool. Let us cooperate in this respect as well, because our job is not only to show ourselves and to show our own monitoring, but also to accumulate the data set that will be useful for the final end users, for simple citizens, for journalists, for the investigators, civil society, for the ones who want to understand how the recovery in Ukraine is happening. The risk management. Let me start from the most important, why this is needed. We often say that Ukraine has a lot of most transparent corruption in the world, that we have a lot of instruments. As I said, the job for the risk management is to define and to decrease the possibility to what needs to be deeply monitored. Apart from the data that is being calculated, we can also take into account complaints and many more things. After the result of the risk management have shown that some object has a high level of risk and it has to be put inside the monitoring, of course, we would also want at this stage at least a preliminary. Victor promised to us that these results will also be up on the website of DREAM. After that, our colleagues, the ones who are interested in this, who are ready to join this, we can make a more deep check These checks can be done based on various methodologies, based on the needs. We're trying from our side to work on some checklists for various types of the main critical aspects. Like, for instance, you see here the questionnaire of the availability regarding the physical access. We are going to create a lot of such questionnaires. After that, there will be some good assessment of the way things are. Like, for instance, they promise that the pandus should be there, but it's not there. Or like panduses that can be absolutely not proper and not working. Some buttons that nobody is coming to come out and to help women, these ramps. So after this information exists, we are coming with it back to Dream, to some key fund managers, and we have, for instance, the agreement with the recovery agency who can react to this in terms of some direct action, like really punish the contractor or to use up the guarantees that are in the contract, as well as to correct some systematic problems related to quality of the tender documentation from the point of view of understanding by the designers the building norms, how they should be implemented, or just the attention should be given to the ones that this is important. Maybe certain changes will require also changes to legislation, etc., etc. How the risk management works in the reality. First of all, I would like to say separately that the whole BRP project is created under the support and under the financing of the European Union. With the risk management, we are very much thankful to USAID because they have financed this little part, and it's working with the very evident story. As we understand, the devil is in the details. Certain indicators receive certain number of scores. This will this if this is financed by the international organizations, it's much more risky when it is financed from the local budget. And the logic is, it's not that the international money, God forbid, it's more interesting to steal rather than local. But the point is that based on the practice of the Ukrainian bureaucracy, on some possible delays, the normative
ззовні, це може нести набагато більші ризики затримки, ніж коли він фінансується з місцевого бюджету, де, як правило, міцний господарник якось ці питання вирішує. Я не кажу, що завжди гарно, але принаймні, як правило, воно рухається. І, звичайно, з точки зору міжнародного фінансування, якщо подібні об'єкти
the objects are not recovered because there is a certain problem, then there are certain potential reputational, political risks. They are much, much more. These indicators, as I already mentioned, they can be received either automatically, for instance, from Dream, we receive the source of the budget. They can be also introduced by users. The main source is, of course, complaints from citizens or the monitoring that has been done by the civil organizations, and they have applied a certain indicator. I mean, if somebody was entering this project 1 year ago and said everything was bad there, conditionally speaking, this was that they already have stolen. Of course, there is an issue that this can automatically and this could be other systems that can be, I mean, distances to energetic objects or something more difficult. Definitely, we are planning in the future to integrate with other sources of data when they're available, because in the office it's already working, and definitely in this respect, this volume of works is already done, and I hope that this will be a very trivial job. Then we are adding this score, and the risk could be from 0 to some, it can even negative, if there are risks there really low, or there is something that is decreasing this. And from what I can gather, like for instance, the outside surveying to some infinity, so we can add more risks, and the system automatically will recalculate them. The administrator gives the distribution of risks. One of the main problems of this uh, varying system of risks, of course, for some indicators it will be normal, for some not. And correspondingly, in order not to really uncover all of this and to really look so wide, there has to be some authentic indicator with number of scores that you should really pay attention to something. And that is automatically recalculated by the system. And as I say, we do have a lot of objects, but I mean, not that many in terms of IT development. So this can be done online. And finally, I'm already finishing. That will be more interesting for many who are listening to us and who are being very active in terms of the civil society, some possibilities that we are doing for you. So this project can exist not only that good people or not so good people are working on it, that part of this project, but it has to be the instrument of crowdsourcing, and to make sure it has to be useful. One screen is not realistic, but it's also from the development, because we are expecting that this final functionality will be in January. It has to be useful for you, not only for me, Alexander or Maria. So what we want to add to this, we want to make instruments that you will be able, irrespective of how you work, whether you're doing it independently or you're working with us in the framework of those competitions and grants that we will be conducting and that will be coming around in the near future, or some other mechanisms of cooperation. So you could get from there some additional information, which objects are risky in those sectors or in those geographical sections, or some other criteria which are interesting for you. From there, you could get some additional information, also uploaded by your colleagues, because we want to avoid this story when was some request to NGO or the requests from the friendly parliamentaries to some contracting parties who are not liked. So they would send 20 times one the same thing. This is absolutely not effective. That if there is any information uploaded on the portal, please take it. I'm not saying that it's the best. Some maybe things have changed, or if the local authorities have really cheated, then you have the chance to catch them on that and to react accordingly. Definitely, we give the possibility to upload the results of the monitoring, first of all, in the form of the photograph of this monitoring and the files which are the results of this monitoring, and gradually we will be able to increase the size of the readable information. That is our plan. We're working actively on that. At least part of the monitoring we can do in a very if, for instance, somebody has published PDF placed on their website, on the Prozoro site, and we would be very much helpful to integrate this and to make sure we could see this in one place. We would also like to add additional instruments from web portal, from mobile app, that this object can be checked. And the idea is not only that we are cooperating with various sectoral organizations, like, for instance, for low mobility, related to what has to be implemented in the object implemented, but also in a way that we would want to expand the possibility for monitoring for the users who are not that well prepared. I'm not criticizing anyone. I'm the one like that, because it's very clear that for the normal person who is not a investigator, who can come to the fence of the underbuilt school and to understand that everything is bad or everything is good. I mean, it's not always possible. There are certain critical cases that the employees, instead of doing the work, they are playing cards or drinking alcohol. But in other cases, we would want to help with this checklist with the analysis whether the photographs are done in a good quality and with many more. And of course, this good profile of statistics is to remind them that for some objects we don't have replies, or for instance, that the claims have come, complaints. So this has to be why we want to authorize NGOs, because we are interested in the active cooperation with international and state stakeholders, because we want that the results of these monitorings would be quite professional. Definitely, we don't want this to be transformed in the classical spoiler. So the stakeholder of the project would find comfortable sparring partner to make sure that they would write in the Facebook, that would write that you see these activists are not being adequate, you can understand that it's a war and it's a secret. So we wanted, at least in the first place, the access to objects and uploading some information. So this access would be received some preliminary authorized, pre-authorized users. And if you are interested, we would love to create logins and passwords, start new users, and starting from January to have more training for the ones who would need all of this. So that's why I would like to once again thank all of our developers. I would like to thank the European Union, USAID, the Kyiv School of Economics, the Prague Center for Civil Initiatives, the whole team of the project, and I would be open to receive your questions and critique. And you please come over to the website and you can check that there is a lot of information is there. And every 2 weeks, there will be much more. Many thanks, Max. Many thanks to the European Union for giving us the possibility to make this thing, to make this portal, and to monitoring every month the funds spent on recovery. We have to have a discussion, but I want to make a short technical question to Max. Please direct now, and the rest of the questions I will ask after Q&A. Also, I would like to say to everyone, first of all, please ask your questions in Q&A. I'm sorting these questions to speakers. And secondly, please sign up to our webpage on Facebook, because there will be a lot of updates, a lot of information about this portal, about the possibility of participation, and how things are working. Max, we have 2 questions, technical, please, very shortly. Whether will be a double language, 2-language version? If yes, when? How to correctly send you the feedback on the work of this portal? Because there are some good ideas that people are ready to share this. How can we send you the feedback? Thank you. Actually, in the website, there is a huge button to send us the message. Please do so. That would be much more comfortable for me. Of course, I will try, and the colleagues will also try to look at the feedback in Facebook and also from the webpage, Big Recovery Portal, and from other sources. And if it's something more concrete, please use the contact information on the website. I can immediately give you replies about the interactivity filters. Of course, we will be introducing this regarding the interactivity from the point of view of protection from DDoS. We have certain limitations. The team has really done a really cool functionality when the map is changing colors, that is overloading this server. At this stage, I hope that within several weeks this will be stabilized and we will activate these functions. This also concerns filters and there will be possibility to search using filters, everything that we are uploading from Dream. And I'm very much sure that a lot of people will be interesting to see where there is monitoring or there is high risk. Of course, we will add that up. Definitely, as at now, no monitoring, no objective comment is there. So please, so these filters are on hold. But again, every 2 weeks will be something new. Victor is promising to us that this high quality information will be uploaded as much as possible, so the analysis will continue to grow. What about the English speaking portal? We count on end of first quarter 2024, because this is connected again with the translation of the interface. Of course, this can be done quite quickly, but again, we are not interested so much in interface, but rather the comments. There is also the monitoring, and this we will have to work with the Dream team, because there are a lot of ideas about the automatic translation, where we have, of course, we have complexities that in each village council they would write in English. So once these issues will be solved, then the English language version will work. So if we're talking about the relatively automatic or maybe AI translation also to the other languages of the European Union, because as I already said, for us it's important that these instruments would be directed at not only the collecting and processing information, but we are also giving this information back to our colleagues, to our partners, for whom this dream team business process may look difficult, but the ones who would want to see these photos. So for their 1,000 tax money, that something is rebuilt in Mykolaiv region, and the sign rebuilt under the funding of the British government or is done, I think this will be very much pleasant. So colleagues who would need the English version, of course, we would love to have it, but so far in the form of the English version, you can use our monitoring. Of course, this will be not as much details as there will be on the portal, but in any case, some high-profile view, you will be able to simply log by logging on to my website, to our website. Another question: do we plan to have projects that will be financed directly by international partners or only by the state? Evidently, we want to create and to collect the whole of such information. Victor and colleagues have a lot in progress, and we are not only relying on them. That let Victor do his work, and we will wait. No, of course, we're not saying like this. We have discussed with colleagues, with the Ministry of Recovery, that one of the functionalities that our civil society could have is detecting mistakes or objects that for any reasons would not show up at Dream. Of course, the human factor is there, and the competition among donors. There are some private donors not always want to disclose some information that belongs to them. So in this particular case, we're interested to make sure that we pass this information back to Dream, so they would, for those procedures that they have, that they would work with the operators of accounts, so that would end up in one space. Once again, the database of projects that we would really love to have one single database of projects. Definitely, this is not about competition, about who is the first to come to some private donor and to introduce some 3 objects and is proud about it. Definitely, this is not what we want to achieve. We actually want to avoid this. We really want this good cooperation. We don't want this chaos. We don't want that who speaks better English, they would get the money. So we really want to cooperate to make sure that this database would be common, If somebody
всюди були внесені. А в чому
finds something, we really want that it will be really correctly introduced. But the way that information will be different is, of course, is about results of the monitoring, because this was already mentioned by Prozoro, the monitoring that is done by the state authorities and the monitoring that sometimes that the civil society is doing this based on the content, based on some emotions, because the state has to rely on some official information. The citizens can photograph some hole with their telephone in the fence and to show that somebody is drinking alcohol on their work, on the job. So this information is also useful and it can still be used. We also had a question, when will we have the single database? Actually, the database is single already. We get this information from Dream, and when we're saying that we will add up something, we will be adding this exactly via Dream. It's not that these two databases would meet each other one day. No, we're working from day one, so we don't have this difference between these databases. The access to this system is a difficult story. This work will become more active in January. I can't tell you about the state authorities. Damaged in UA, where API is working and the information is open, and the number of objects is not that much different from RPZM, but this information is not really synchronized. So our objective, once again, from the media point of view, also from the risk management point of view, to take the information about damages. This will be the filter on the map, so you can see not only the red destroyed, but also the green dots saying that something has been rebuilt. That's not only rebuilt, but we also have some reasons for optimism, because sometimes we call recovery something in Lviv when we have IDPs. Sometimes we are surprised. We will work with such cases. Thank you, Max. Actually, from the questions that I see, we have a number of other questions, but I really want to move to our discussion, because if we do have some more time for Q&A, that we will continue. And to continue, I want to once again present the ones who have joined us. That's Victor Nastulia, the Dream Project Office. It's Alexandra Betli and Ivan Laktionov, Transparency, because Max has not mentioned so much about Prozoro, and we sometimes hear. Ivan, please could you tell us about your experience, how it has worked for you, whether you were able to cope with engaging civil society, and maybe some advice for BRP or about something that you have heard today. Actually, a lot of questions in one, but let me try to reflect from what I have heard. Yes, a lot of times they recollect, they say Dozoro, Dozoro, and it seems that everybody understands already. We have been working with Victor in one team, and it's very good that these initiatives are really good, that it's already implemented. My reflection, the plan is very much ambitious, and from my point of view, Marx said that monitoring of the civil society and the state is a little bit different. And in this respect, I have this challenge that we see in front of the team, how to provide not only the high quality of data, but how to provide the high quality of the work that will be generated by activists, the NGOs, the users of your system. Let me tell you from my experience, we have really given a lot of attention, and sometimes too much, when we had to really we had to check all the lists that were generated. It's important to understand immediately that we worked more with the procurement, and there are not that many experts in procurement, and I think in the recovery even less. So the question is to you, how would you operate? Of course, the instrument is good, but there is also a question how, to which extent this instrument will also generate some other investigations. A lot you said about the risk indicators, the methodology of these risk indicators, and the rest. But for me, most important is how to provide that high quality of data that other users will be generating. And we have been working a lot with that. We spent a lot of time on that objectively. In the context of today, it seems to me, I don't know how it is with you, from my experience, I can tell you that we are facing with a purely very simple lack of staff. Of course, mobilization, enlistment is not helping us. And yeah, that's also an issue how to support all of this. Because really, Maxim presented a lot of different systems, stages. Each of these products can be really separate. So the question is how to provide for all this. Regarding the NGOs, there was also a question. That's also a challenge in reality, in terms of whether they are ready to generate high quality what you have been thinking about. Because, first of all, as I said, we need to monitor them and recheck them, because all of it that becomes public on the portal, it becomes earlier or later will become public and will entice certain consequences. So this has to be worked on as well. What concerns, what other questions you have had regarding NGOs, whether we could cope? I think it will be difficult. I'm repeating myself already, but as at now, we have, from our side, have stopped the support of NGOs. We're working on a point-to-point basis with some certain experts. We're searching for such experts. And let me repeat myself, in terms of searching for qualified staff and their training, again, it seems to me that will be a challenge. This is my reflection to what I have heard. Many thanks, Ivan, and I really wanted that our projects would really become a synergy, considering the deficit of staff. Of course, that's important to make it really well, that people would not compete for the people. I actually wanted to pass the floor to the rest of the colleagues, but I would like to ask Sasha. Sasha, please remember this question from Ivan about how the portal will generate and how it will provide for the high quality data from the users. So that nobody would forget about it. And now I would like to ask Alexander Nahot, after you have heard Alexander, after Max and talked about this civil monitoring, how useful it will be for your agency. Which priorities would you go for? Which objects have to be monitored physically in the first place? Colleagues, good afternoon. Yes, I'm playing right now in two roles at the moment, because as the representative of the civil society who is not indifferent, I'm just trying to understand how useful it will be to use it. And my second role is the representative of the Agency for Recovery. So let me say a few words regarding my first role. It seems to me that regarding the assessment of the usefulness of the instruments, coming back to this comparison of the portal with the system Dozoro, it seems to me that's important to have which aspect. This Dozoro system, it was based on the Prozoro system. That was, in its sense, a single source of information, and we understood that all information related to the procurement in the country, it should be within the Prozoro system. And then you should add additional useful instruments, how to work with it, how to analyze this. So it seems that we still need to do it, is to provide the completeness of information. So it would be very much clear that the information that we have in RPZM, and I'm seeing this based on the comments, I have not seen 250,000, I have seen some 200,000, but really there are a lot of objects in RPZM. So I think it would be very much desirable that this information would be in one or the other appear here, because it would be clear that what is there in this register, that it's also here. Also, we have a very useful portal, Reconstruction, the system of information in the construction. There is a lot of information, and it's important to about the permissions, the projects, the reports. All of it is already in the system, and I think it would be very interesting that this information would be synchronized and used up. There is also a lot of information about procurement. So first thing I would want to do is how to combine this at least three sources of information partially. Oh, this has to be in the dream. Then it's yes. If this portal works with information from dream, because it's now perceived as if we have several dozens of objects, that's okay, but there are tens of thousands of such objects. It has to be, we have to provide for the completeness of the information. And then we can use some other filters. What concerns the recovery agency, I would have a question in return, because at least now the recovery agency, it has to fulfill the function of the representative of the state in the process of recovery, and it will be as a contracting party for the fulfillment of certain works. At least now, the recovery agency is not deciding which exact object has to be recovered, but what exactly that this recovery agency can provide, and I'm thinking about it, is which useful information is necessary from the recovery agency to the dream system or to this portal, so that information that is here now, so it would be more useful, relevant, interesting, and it seems to me it would be very nice if we could work together on that, because yeah, we can influence that, we can add some additional information, but again, this recovery agency is about the projects that are being implemented, but we as the recovery agency, we can at least pilot these things, and then we can think how to distribute them for other consumers. These are the two blocks of issues that I have come up with. Many thanks. I am absolutely for the completeness and integrity of the information with two of my hands. I want to have it really for 100% of the objects, and every month I really wish we would have it. We've also received a lot of questions in the chat. Maybe I can ask this question now, and then we will come to the next speaker. Can any of the speakers can tell us why RPZM is closed and whether it can be reopened soon? I know, but I can't say publicly. As far as I know, the public information is that the work's underway. The priority of this work is not very high, unfortunately, considering some other jobs that these colleagues have that are doing this. And separately, I want to say about the integration of data, supporting everything that was said, that in general, we want to really make one ring that will rule it all. I would still like to concentrate on why we're doing this. Conditionally speaking, if you don't have this job for integration at any price and spending millions of man hours to recheck the information just for the sake of checking. For the objectives of concretely BRP, the main challenge is vice versa, is that the information would not be actionable just to load up millions of PDF files that the ones that we can really take from Dream. That is not a problem. If we were to create, Victor would not allow me to cheat you. There are some 200 parameters that we can apply to upload information, but for the majority of the users, will not understand what to do with this. No, it's not even clear what to do from the point of view of the risk management. Part of this information, the more parameters you have, the more mistakes you get, or something is not filled out or not filled out correctly, ideally. Therefore, our job is mostly, first of all, to give the possibility to react to that information that is understood for the people. Like, for instance, there has to be an object. Like, for instance, the ramp was promised, and somebody says, okay, it's not there, okay. We say, okay, somebody cheated, so it has to be written somewhere, either on Facebook, or we have to be able to come to Mustafa and to show him the list of 20 objects where we could, where we believe they deserve to be rechecked in a more global manner. Then, naturally, somewhere under the cover, we want to work on a more complicated integration. If we can really extract something useful, it would be exactly that added value that our project can contribute, because theoretically we have a lot of open information in Ukraine, but the problem is what to do with it. So that's exactly the information, even in Prozoro, because Prozoro for the Dream, it's only a small piece in that huge business process. So information is a lot. So for us, so far it's slightly less challenge. I'm just trying to reply to what the users are adding. We have several options. First of all, we're making 3 options of reacting: comments for the simple ones, complaints for the ones who are ready to really sign up the complaint, and there has to be some answer, and monitoring, who have spent several days of work to make sure they can do this. And definitely we will have the team that will be working with this information. Also from the Dozoro experience, we will be working on this moderation, who will be getting access to this, because Dozoro, it's also, we have seen colleagues. I can see the hand of Ivan, but I would like to give the word to Victor, because this Victor, who is doing already this portal of Dream, I will not ask you any questions. I would like to just ask you to reflect. I think this will be interesting. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Max, for the presentation. First of all, I would like to really greet you with this milestone. It's very cool that this already launched, and there are huge plans for its development and the further integration. And I would like to thank for this great cooperation experience of several months of our permanent interaction, because the advantage of the open data and such solutions is that we are improving one another. Thanks to Max's team, we have identified certain gaps in Dream. We have been able to improve our business processes. So I believe the more portal users will be, this will help us to improve the quality of this data and to give some synergetic effect and make our recovery more transparent, effective, and the like. Therefore, greetings to launching this. I understand all those challenges that you have in front of you. I just want to wish you success and further good cooperation. Quickly reflecting, which is related to integration of BRP in Dream. This element of BRP is there already. We will definitely do this. In the first stage, on the public part of the project, we will show not the index of riskness, but link to BRP. But the risk index in the first during the first time, we suggest to show it to the user in the internal system. It's not our job is to show that such project is risky and let God forbid that don't bring money here. We need to help the initiator, the consumer. We have to say that, guys, you have this red project, please go to BRP portal, read the methodology, think what you can do in order to improve the quality of your project. In parallel, our team who have been introduced to API, we understand what to do, and in our common chat, we will continue to work on that, and we will reflect this in the near future. So we will make sure that we will really improve the recovery. The second question regarding all the sources of Dream. Thank you for the slide, Dream in the Law, because one of the challenges that we have this experimental project, and this is our advantage. If we didn't have the experiment, then we would launch a lot of mistakes that we would need to do this. We have certain leaders, like Kiev State Administration. We have registered with them 69th Hromada in Kiev. So we have created and this is coming, the liquidation fund. It's, all of us will be there. Also colleagues from the Kirovograd administration or others. All of them see the preciousness of Dream and they don't wait for this. We want to make sure that every project would be in this, and what we have also discussed with Max, it is also an assistance to Dream to see the projects which have gone through the system, to make sure that we can really put all puzzles together to the whole ring. This ring, we don't have any objectives to be the ring to rule all, but Dream is collecting all the information in a single spot, and we have the integrated RPZM. We have already the integrated single state system. We have integrated Prozoro spending. We are working with other integrations, and now you can come. Okay, maybe not. We are a little bit delayed with the public portal, but the next release of the portal will show you also the projects. You'll see the designer, the expert, the date for permissions, the permission to start the construction. And we're working with the team how we influence the environment, some other parameters. And this is the work for me and for BRP and for these are quite difficult questions. They have to be discussed. We have to explain to the community how to work with this. We need to show them how to interpret them. So we would not put anything on the ventilator, but really creating the usefulness. And I would like to thank the recovery agency that they are really filling out the agencies. But even when we stop our main project and everything will be in one spot, and these ecological systems and other standards, the monitoring and the evaluation, whether it's needed, whether it's adequate, and whether the prices are okay there. We are also discussing with the analytical projects which costs are there, how we can help this. So all of these are quite difficult stories. So if we give this access without any control just to criticize, then we will have again such a problem when Orban says Ukraine is the most corrupted country of the world because we are perceived so negatively. So it's really good that we have such a professional functionality of the NGOs. This feedback is validated, verified. It's uploaded by the NGO that has gone through training. We even had in Dozoro the policy of certification, and some NGOs have been cancelled. The certification was cancelled because of the feedback that the check that they were manipulating. They're almost like we're blackmailing the consumers, the contractors. So once again, we will be integrating all of this, how to work together on the best data and how to help and how to bring the projects together so that dream is in law or not in the law. I really believe that it will be in the law. So we would have really a single window that would be comfortable for the citizen of Ukraine and the taxpayer in Copenhagen. And the last question was about the translation in English. To the dream, we have connected AI-driven English translation every month. I'm opening up the invoice, the bill, and I hope that we can have tens of thousands of projects, how we will be doing this. But I'm sure we will come up with something. We'll get some discount or put it to fundraising. Wish you success in this fundraising and many thanks for the comments. Guys, we have 4 minutes left. And in case none of the panelists would like to say something really important, I would like to ask Alexandra Betli to say a few words. The grants that we will be announcing soon, please make an announcement when there will be a call for grants so people can already save the date and be prepared for this. One of the components of our project is the grants. The first call will be announced in January. On the 10th of January, we're planning to have an event where we will talk about the grants, the requirements, what we are proposing, what we are also expecting from grant tests. We will have 2 competitions. One of them will be for the monitoring of objects, and the second competition will pertain to the monitoring of procurement. Of course, we do have staff-related problems. Ivan has mentioned about that. So we will be coordinating with all organizations who have started monitoring in order to take into account all the experience. And for the sub-grants, we will give a clear methodology, very clear, to what we want them to do. They will be supplying information to the portal. Their projects, their monitoring results will be placed on the portal. The rest we are very much encouraging because, as Max has said, we are really keeping this portal for the coordination so the activists would not just jump around all the objects, and they would really coordinate this and really would use a similar methodology. So on the 10th of January, please expect an event online. The information will be on our website, on football, on our portal, on Facebook. Everything will be online and we will be discussing this and announcing this. Many thanks to Alexandra, many thanks to all the colleagues. And I would like to remind to everybody who is listening to us, we have 91 participants today, that the fewer objects will be disrupted by the Russians. the less we will have to rebuild. Let us donate to the armed forces. Let us encourage all our international partners to support Ukraine. Many thanks for your participation in today's event. Many thanks to the European Union that you make it, guys, possible, and to all of my colleagues for the really cool and comprehensive work. Max and all the colleagues, many thanks for joining. See you guys next time.